Oh, you're watching Tech Flashback, and welcome to the show. We've got a lot of good stories for you today. I'm your co-host, Jack Isaac of House PC Jack. We're doing it again, Jerry, as requested. And I'm joined
Yeah,
by Jerry Reese of House Top 3 Entertainment. And it's going to be a
let's
good one.
go.
How are you doing, Jerry, anyway?
I'm doing pretty good, pretty good. As I think you're the one that helped me out too. I got to 500 subs, so I'm ecstatic. I'm waiting for that community tab to pop up so I can start posting to my community. And
Nice.
I'll do an appreciation post on my YouTube once that happens. And how are you
Awesome.
doing?
I'm doing very good. I just wanted to say congratulations, though, because it's nice to be able to finally tell you in person and just celebrate it because it's a well-deserved win. It's again, you get that community tab, which is awesome, and you also are halfway to 1K, which is awesome, and it's always worth celebrating that. So we're gonna do a little cheers to you, and let's get you to 1K as soon as possible.
Hell yeah.
Nice.
Let's get you to 2K, huh?
We'll think about you first. Let's get you there. That's what we care about. But no, it's nice. We're gonna be have a bit. We'll celebrate a little bit to mark the occasion and get into some tech topics that we're gonna cover for today's stream. Last week was a pretty good one. I think it's coming up to our most popular episode, which is pretty cool. So we'll
Oh
see if
yeah.
we, no pressure, but we'll see if we top it again this evening because we've got a lot of interesting things to talk about, especially following on from our Ryzen coverage last week. Rather than talking just about Ryzen CPUs, we've also got a bit of coverage this week about AM5 motherboards and some of the specs that we're expecting, and also some news on an RTX 4090 prototype. Should be pretty
Oh yeah.
interesting. But before we get into all that, let's. We always like to warm things up on the show by just having a bit of a general chit chat, and just seeing how things are going. And just seeing in the chat now. Welcome to the stream, Marco. He says, "Hello, people." Isn't it? We
Hey,
got
what up?
our first visitor today. That's always good to see. Hope you're doing well. Yes. How have things been going with you, Jerry? You've been busy working on any videos for this week now?
Yeah, I'm doing a special video. We're building a build for my cousin and top three squad member. So
Nice.
we're getting started on that. It's a slow build, saving up money and getting parts as they go down in sale. So we'll go ahead and see what parts we've gotten and for what price and what we will be building.
That's cool. So I know you've gone with X570 for the time being, unless AM5 or Ryzen 7000 series starts getting interesting. Have you picked out any other parts beside that, like sort of like a case,
Yeah, we're
just
sticking with the
general
AM.
things?
We're sticking with the AM4, the
Okay.
X570. The 5800X went on sale for 245, so it was pretty much hard to beat that.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, that's really good actually.
Yeah, and since he's gonna be streaming and editing, it's not bad for that price, and we know it'll work because that's what I run anyways.
Oh, definitely.
So
It's even better. And obviously, that's he's not gonna have to worry about that early adopter tax as well. Then, so it's a really good time to be buying a Ryzen 5000 series CPU anyway. But
oh yeah,
the price drops over in the UK are pretty crazy at the moment. I'm guessing it's probably about the same over there right now because we got 5950, no, maybe not the 5950X, but it's near enough just under £500, which is pretty good going right now. And the 5900X is actually less than £400, which is pretty good going. So if you are looking to build on last gen hardware, it's a very good time to be doing it. Peace of Us just popped in. Let's go. Exactly. He knows
there
exactly
you
what
go.
we're getting
Speak of the
into.
devil.
Speak of devil, he shall appear. So that's cool. So you're gonna be aiming to get a video on that up for Friday, or you have to see
Yeah,
how it
it's gonna
goes.
be it's gonna be this Friday's video.
Cool.
I'm pretty sure I got all the recording done. I got everything done. Just the editing, and this one's gonna be a little different. So we'll see how long it takes.
I'm excited for it. So you're putting up like a
Yeah.
sort of build video this week, and I'm also putting up a build video this week for the first time in a very long time. We're really in sync at the moment. That's crazy. What it is. I do have some sad news though, Jerry. Is that
Ah,
we're no longer sharing Friday uploads together anymore.
man.
I've adjusted the schedule slightly. I'm sorry because I started the new series on Sundays now, which Went quite well. I was quite happy with that one turned out. And I'm going to be going for the news videos on Sundays, Tech Flashback on Tuesdays, and then the other upload will be on the Thursdays from now, just to space it out a little better throughout the week. So I'm sorry to leave you in the spotlight for the Friday upload, Jerry, but I'm sure you'll cope. I'm sure you'll make up for it just as well. But
Now
yeah,
people can't watch our stuff back to back. You know, they got that hour block in.
I'm just saving the day entirely for you, Jerry. That's what it is.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. And
But-
well, I didn't watch your last Sunday episode. I have it saved in my playlist, which I think helps out your views. And
Is that a thing?
I
I've
normally watch-
never known about that.
Yeah, I think so. It somehow it records that as a few. I don't know. Since it's in a playlist, it's pretty good. But I usually save them and watch them at work, because why not get paid to watch your stuff, right? And
That's cool.
I just
Even better.
I was swamped at work today, man. Since we had like a 3-day holiday or 3-day weekend.
Oh, it was Labor
just
Day over
crazy.
there, wasn't it?
Yeah. So I needed music to keep me going through the day.
That's fair. That's
Yeah.
cool. Well, most of the idea with the news videos on the Sunday is kind of almost like a semi warm up for Tech Flashback, where I've got my own research ahead of time and I've published a video on it, and then it's condensed into a very short duration, less than 10 minutes. And in Tech Flashback, I get to expand on what I've looked at in the news roundup. So it kind of complements each other, I think, anyway. But yeah, well, I think on that, there's a bit of Ryzen talk from last week. Obviously, just had to end on that as well, and also some stuff that I won't get into until later on in the stream, because we did some of it is on the agenda for today to get into. But of course, I'd be hard pressed not to ask. But what are you thinking on this week's Game of Thrones then?
I liked it. No spoilers. I liked it. I guess this is the only spoiler I'll give. There is a time jump. Some people might not like that. But
I think
it's pretty
that's
cool.
been fairly well publicized, that there's going to be a jump with like actors changing and stuff. So that's not exactly a spoiler. I don't think that's okay.
Okay, I didn't know that, but
Well, maybe that's a spoiler for you then. I don't know.
yeah, but that's fine. I get it. But I feel like this first season they're probably gonna jump a lot to get to a main point, and then from there, there's a lot of history, I guess, to the point they want to get to, and then I think
definitely.
from there on they'll kind of keep it in that current timeline. But I like it. It's like a quick flash through Westeros history, so I don't mind it too much.
Well, it keeps us
And,
going though. It doesn't like let it like slip on like some like really boring segments of the story. It kind of just gets straight into it, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
And it had a pretty good climax. But I won't spoil any more about that. We will have a full-on discussion about the series as a whole once it's finished, and we can go into spoilers and stuff like that. But for now, we don't want to spoil it for you guys, just in case though. But it was a pretty good one, just to put it out there. But how about we get into our
I guess-
first? Sorry, go on. Sorry, I cut you off there.
I say a good way to summarize it without spoilers is your characters do what they do pretty good.
That's a good way of putting it. I quite like that.
Yeah.
Now, Jerry, should we get into our first topic for today? Because I know it's one you're going to be particularly interested in.
Let's go.
So it's GPUs, and I've got the best person possible to talk about GPUs with me. And
Hey.
our first topic for today is going to be prototype NVIDIA GeForce RTX 4090 series graphics card has been pictured. So this leaked a couple of days ago, and of course, we have to say this is still rumored. It's not official right now, but we've got some interesting photos to take a look at. A photo. So if you take a look at the article, we got the photos leaked by Greymon55 from Twitter, who claims this is an NVIDIA AD102 based graphics card. This massive design is supposedly a prototype for the next gen NVIDIA GPU. It is clearly not the final design. I think that's pretty evident from that actual look anyway. It's a very plain looking, cooler design on it anyway. But it does go on to say on here, since no brand was named and there was nothing distinctive about this prototype, we can only guess which model this will be. The first guess would be the Galaxy Deluxe, but the fan design is clearly different. The shape appears to match a Gigabyte gaming series, but the center fan should be directed in the opposite direction, which is not the case in this example. Now, I think it's going to be pretty difficult to actually pinpoint a particular vendor for this actual cooler design, especially if it's so early in its sort of life cycle without even being announced yet. But we got some additional specs if you aren't actually aware what they're rumoring for the RTX 4090, which is, we got up here, the RTX 4090 is to feature 16,384 CUDA cores and 24GB of GDDR6X memory. The board design will be very similar to the NVIDIA RTX 3090 Ti series, which is why some board partners may only introduce cosmetic changes to their existing designs, which by the way are just a few months old. Now, I do think this is something we touched on back when the 3090 Ti released, about how they were possibly testing the waters with the actual cooler designs for that, for 40 series, as well as the actual power requirements, because it was quite a hefty increase to the actual board power of the 3090 Ti. But the only other bit on here, so it specifies on here, the only major difference for the next-gen RTX 4090 series GPU cooler design is increased power, supposedly up to 450 watts. So, what are you thinking on this actual leak, Jerry? You think this is looking a bit credible, or are you a bit 50-50, unsure?
Yeah, like I always say, take leaks with a grain of salt, just because you never know. But I mean, I could believe this leak because it's just a prototype, and it's very believable that it could look like this. And I just think it's funny that they're like, since this is a prototype, we can't guess, and then they guess every card in the in the game.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I could believe it. It's pretty crazy. I don't know why. I don't know where these leaks come from or why they do it, but I guess it's worth risking your job, huh?
I suppose, but I'm sure I've seen something pop up for Greymon55 on other leaks in the past. I can't pin a specific leak to him on that, but it is interesting to see that like these prototypes would be going around, especially with the announcement supposedly coming later this month on, I can't remember the date, but Jensen's scheduled for a keynote towards the end of this month. And it's expected that he's going to announce RTX 40 series then. So to see these prototypes going around now wouldn't be particularly surprising. But then we are also seeing some leaks with the actual like sort of 30 series FE design for the cooler. So I'm not sure. It's pretty interesting to see though, because it's like I believe it's the most it's not, I'm going to say the most credible, but it is a rumor, but the most credible seeming rumor we've seen so far on this card. And
But
go on.
sorry, go ahead.
That's okay. Go ahead.
It's coming out. It's coming out soon, so they need to hype it up. So it's the perfect time. It's a perfect way to do it. You know, not giving too much, but also getting people salivating for the cards.
Oh, definitely. I think that's exactly it. And like going back to the actual like I mentioned about the fact about the cooler designs being somewhat similar to the cooling for the 3090 Ti. Now you had the 3090 Ti FE, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
That's it. So that's pretty much the cooler design for the existing 3090 FE, and that in itself was already a chunk of a card, to say the least.
Yeah, it was huge and surprisingly very cool. But it did have a giant fan on it, so it made sense why it stayed pretty cool.
Well, given the size, you'd expect the density would do enough to cool the card itself. But then if you look at did you see the EVGA? Was it for the Win? Oh, I don't think they had the For the Win 3 model for that. Oh, it was for the Win 3.
I think
yeah.
It was. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you see that one? It had a literal crane to hold it up.
Yeah. Yeah, that was pretty awesome. I saw the Jay's 2 cents video on it, and yeah, he attached it to his case. So yeah, I thought that was pretty crazy. I still want to test one day, but they're expensive, man. Those cards are expensive. I had someone ask me, they watched a review of my 3060 video of the single fan PNY, and they asked me, they were expecting me to have more 3060s to compare it to.
I thought you've looked at a few 3060s already, though.
I have, but depending on what time I tested those videos, I had to restart the test just because some benchmarks change or the updates change, or the drivers updated, and it updated everything significantly, so it wasn't a fair
it's not accurate data at a certain point then.
Yeah.
That's fair.
So I have to kind of reset the bar every once in a while. That's why every once in a while you'll notice some of the charts have like 3 cards on them or 4, or just there's not that much on it.
Yeah, well, you don't want to be providing anything that is going to be like unfair towards like an existing product that you've already reviewed, isn't it? So it's a bit awkward because obviously some of it you can't keep on inventory at all times. But
Yeah.
that's why it's cool when you revisit the same SKU but on a different model in a later video, because it kind of like re-enters it in that benchmark hierarchy, which kind of works out then.
Yeah. It charts it on there. But yeah, and I was like, bro, like these cards are expensive. How do you expect me to have a bunch on hand? Like, come on, guy. You should be appreciative that I was able to get this.
Well,
But
now it's probably we're getting to a good point now where it comes to GPU pricing, as we're getting so close to RDNA 3 and RTX 40 series. So how is pricing looking for you anyway? I just thought every now and again we have a little checkup to see what pricing is looking like in both the UK and the US. So I'll look up some prices for the UK at the moment. If you shout out a card or a couple of cards, we can take a look at how pricing is looking.
so one thing I want to talk about this 4090 real quick, since we're talking about prices. They're saying it's the MSI Supreme series. That's gonna cost an arm and a leg. That MSI brand is expensive.
They
So
always
I
try
wonder
and maneuver that with that series of card anyway.
yeah.
They're like,
The MSIs are usually already pretty high, and then the Supreme is high. And so yeah. But look up
do you go 3090
the
Ti while we're talking about it?
say the EVGA 3090, not the for the win, but the model below it. Jeez, what is it? The XC3?
Let's take a look.
I think it's $950 over here right now for a 3090.
Right, I got 3090 Ti's up first, so let's try and find the EVGA
Okay.
ones it's got. Okay. Pull this up on the screen as well. So we got an EVGA RTX 3090 for the Win 3 Ultra. It's going for £1,319. So that's
Cheaper than
it's
previously
near
released.
MSRP for the FE in the UK. Is that the only EVGA? Oh, they got the XE3 Ultra as well, but that's going for 1,800 almost.
More.
Yeah.
So right now on Newegg, the cheapest 3090 Ti is the ASUS Tough Gaming for 1,200, 1199, which is not too bad. And then let me check Amazon. Yeah, the Tough Gaming cards are going down right now in price. I guess they're having special sales or something.
Now I'm
They
only
have the
looking at
16
I'm only looking at Scan UK, and they haven't actually got any EVGA 3090 Ti's, which is a bit strange. I'm guessing they're
Right here on
elsewhere.
Amazon, we have the For the Win 3 Black Gaming for 1,099, the 3090 Ti. So that one's actually cheaper. And for a For the Win 3, that's actually very good. Yeah, so the cheapest I've seen is 1,099 EVGA For the Win 3. That's the one we were just talking about, right? The one with the crane?
That's the one. That's it. Yeah. Well, you said that was around just under 1,100. Was it you said?
Yeah. Yeah,
Well,
just
this
1,100. Oh, 1099 exact.
the closest I would say for that. Was that a Ti?
Yeah, 3090 Ti.
Ti. Yeah, we got the Gigabyte 3090 Ti Gaming OC. That's about near enough there, just under 1,100. Um, it's a pretty basic cooler design, if I'm being totally honest. Well, it's not much to it. It's got this like pass-through design with the actual heatsink.
The Gigabyte Gaming. Yeah, that's not a bad card.
It's not bad. It's a bit plain. If you were fancying something that had a bit more flair to it, then there probably would be better ones. But for the price, it's getting there. But they keep going lower and lower, which is even more impressive as we get to like this new generation now. Or you can step up. There's a Zotac 3090 Ti going for just under 1,200.
I'll take that Gigabyte over that Zotac any day.
Yeah, same. If you're not fussed about RGB, then it's a non-issue, to be fair. But,
I think the only thing that lights up on the Gigabyte Gaming is probably the lettering, and there's a line under it too.
Oh, I did miss it. It's actually a pre-order on that, so they don't actually have that in stock currently.
I sent you the link to the EVGA 3090 Ti.
Yeah, I can open it up a second. Just I'll have to like lose your capture a second. So like, let's quickly get this, and then we can bring you back up.
Catch you later, Marco. He dropped.
Oh, must run. Catch you next time. Regards from Serbia. It is about €5. Well, thank you very much. That is very much appreciated. Make sure you stop in for the next stream. We'd love to see you come back, and have a good one. Well, what a nice guy. I haven't seen Marco pop up in the chat before, but fair play.
Oh yeah.
So what we got here? We got. I'm looking at it in There's no price on here. Am I looking at? Is it because I'm in the
Huh?
UK looking at this?
Yeah,
Oh,
probably. Here it says
oh, it comes up as 2600. Dear me, I don't know what's happened there.
oh my
Um,
god.
I don't know. It might be a difference because I'm looking at it from the UK. That's all. But no,
Yeah.
it's looking like it's in a downward trend, which is very pleasing to see right now. But before we close out on this 4090 topic, I'm guessing as we're leading up to this next gen of cars now, are you sort of eyeing up what's going to be like your first next gen card to review, or have you even
Um,
considered that?
whatever is available is how I'm gonna go with it. Um, it's just they're so hard to come across. Just whatever I'm able to get my hands on. I don't know if I would like maybe a budget one, maybe like a 4070 or something like that. But honestly, whatever I can get my hands on first, which is probably gonna be what 4090.
I think they are staggering it from the flagship down, so you might see that where maybe the 4090 and the 4080 are the first to release, and then they'll scale down to the 4070 over the next month or so, as well as like the 4060, and whichever ones they decide to release between then. But I'd be interested to see what they do actually do for like their schedule on it, because it's getting close, and I think we're like, especially with AMD teasing RDNA 3 last week at their Ryzen showcase, I think we're pretty much on track for a lot of hardware releases, including CPUs, which is very exciting. Personally, I'm over. Sounds really weird because obviously I do find GPUs interesting to take a look at, but I'm more of a CPU guy. Does that sound right? Do you know what I mean? More
Yeah, now I get
CPU
it.
and motherboards. That's kind of the thing I prefer to take a look at. Whereas for yourself, you more specialize in GPUs. That's kind of your forte.
GP they're a lot cleaner to swap in and out, so that's what's
Oh,
nice about them.
definitely. It's much harder to like benchmark a ton of motherboards. You kind of like,
Yeah.
well, they're all about the same. They just have different power limits and all that stuff, just to like try and like push the CPUs as hard as possible. But on the topic of motherboards, should we take a look at some new motherboards that could be coming pretty soon? I'm
Oh yeah.
uh,
Oh yeah.
I'm pretty invested in motherboards right now because I am hoping to upgrade to AM5, depending how things go. But I thought what we would do is I've got a couple of articles here with some upcoming motherboards from both. There's some from Gigabyte and from MSI. But one of the things I didn't
Nice.
clarify in last week's episode was some of the actual like specs that we're looking at for an AM5 motherboard. Now I've pulled up. I did do. I made a couple of notes on some of the most important things that we're taking a look at with like the actual changes coming with AM5. So, for people who aren't aware, obviously Ryzen 7000 series is coming at the end of this month, which does mean that there is going to be a new AM5 socket. So, it is a motherboard, CPU, and also memory upgrade. And we're going to get to some DDR5 news later on in the stream as well. But some of the actual things you're going to be looking at when it comes to an AM5 motherboard are as follows. So, the big difference that we're seeing with this now is the fact that there's an ALGA socket rather than a PGA socket. Now, if you're not familiar with what PGA or LGA is, PGA is pin grid array, which is what is on a typical Ryzen CPU, where the pins are on the motherboard, not the motherboard, on the CPU. See, I'm already forgetting it's different now. And
It's fine.
LGA is how it is currently for like a typical like Intel CPU, like LGA 1700, where the pins are actually located on the motherboard. Now, there's pros and cons to both. I think that's pretty fair to say. But AMD are changing things with Ryzen 7000 series and going for an LGA 1718 socket. So that would mean that the actual pins are on the motherboard this time around rather than on the CPU. Now, how do you feel about PGA LGA, Jerry? I think the biggest concern most people have is that an LGA motherboard is a lot more difficult to repair than a PGA CPU, as people have discovered
Yeah.
when yanking their Ryzen CPUs out.
Yeah. That's I was about to say the only con I see with the LGA is that if you drop something on your motherboard and it smashes the pin, good luck straightening out those pins. If you drop your CPU and it has the PGA on it, it's a little easier to straighten out those pins because you're able to caress it, move it around. And on the motherboard, you're gonna have very tough angles. So other than that, I think we're good. But I
If you're,
mean,
if you're on a
accidents.
motherboard, you better hope you got steady hands. Anyway.
Yeah, accidents do happen. The AIO pump does get heavy, so good luck with that.
Did you ever see there was a video from Bitwit a couple of years ago where he was building a Threadripper system, and he dropped the it was like a 3990X or maybe a 3970X, I'm not sure, into a socket. Into it was an LGA socket, obviously on Threadripper X299. It's X299, I think. I'm not sure. Yeah, and just murdered a ton of pins. Just like that's depressing. But no, so that's one of the main things. People prefer LGA CPUs because they're easier to handle, but there is the issue with obviously you can pull out a Ryzen CPU from an AM4 socket very easily as well. So there's pros and cons to it, but the main purpose with this is obviously going to be there is issues with actual power delivery, and they are able to circumvent that with an LGA socket, which should be pretty useful given that they are going to be umping the actual power delivery on these not GPUs, on these CPUs and motherboards. And before we get further on into the specs as we're going through here, just thought I'd give a little shout out to TechLab UK. Oi oi, late to the show, was playing with a davoom. What's a davoom? I've never heard of that before. But it's good to see you stopping by, and I hope you enjoy the show. Do you know what a davoom is, Jerry? I have no idea what that is.
Right now.
We need to educate the stream.
Pixel art game. LED Bluetooth speaker and LED pixel. The pixel art cloud frame. Huh. I'm not too sure if this is what he's talking about.
Davoom? Let's have a look.
So yeah, it is family friendly, so you don't gotta worry about nothing popping out. Yeah, I don't know. It shows a bunch of pixel stuff, so
It looks pretty
it's a
cute.
weird pixel monitor thing.
Yeah, that's cool.
Oh, okay.
Oh, he did
That is
clarify that.
crazy.
Yeah, that's cool. But
It
yeah,
would be awesome to have one saying top 3 or PC jack on it.
that'd be pretty good. Maybe we need to look for something like for the backdrop sort of thing. That'd be pretty good. Yeah. So getting back to AM5 motherboards themselves, some of the other specs that we're looking at, and this is one of the things that needs to be there is some clarification needed on what motherboards are supporting what, but there's reports of up to 24 PCIe 5.0 lanes for storage and graphics. Now, one of the key distinctions we're seeing with AM5 motherboards now is the fact that they've got the standard X670 and B650 motherboards, as well as the E variants or Extreme. And so some of the differences we're sort of seeing with those is that there's sort of limited PCIe lanes on the non-E variants, and there's also little offsets of that to do with the actual Gen 5 support on separate lanes. But that is the current limit we're looking at, with up to 24 PCIe 5.0 lanes. So there's a decent amount of connectivity on these CPUs, on these motherboards rather, which is pretty good. And along with other connectivity, we can use up to 14 super speed USB 14 super speed. I mean, I'm reading that wrong. That's fine. Going back onto the next one though, is Wi-Fi E6 support with Bluetooth Low Energy 5.2 support. So you got those as well. So if you are relying on Wi-Fi, you are getting up to a higher standard on there, which is pretty good. One of the things that I'm going to find pretty interesting on here, though, is the fact that they are supporting smart access storage for GPU decompression in Microsoft Direct Storage enabled games. So this is one of the things that has been pretty exciting about actual consoles at the moment, especially with the Xbox, with their so the way it's to do with the actual sort of quick resume they offer within games. So you can literally pause a game and then go and do whatever you want and jump straight back in without any load in. So it does circumvent a lot of the actual load going to the CPU itself on there. But that's another key feature as well. But one of the things I'm most interested in is the fact that it shows support for DDR5 memory up to 5200 megahertz, or as a base rather, 5200 megahertz guaranteed and onwards as the JDEC standard. Now, one of the things they did clarify with Ryzen 7000 series is the fact that the sweet spot is 6000, and I'm gonna use, I don't know, do you know Tech Potato? Have you seen his videos?
No, that's a cool name though.
He's an extremely in-depth tech analysis hardware guy. He knows, he's literally up there. Like he's called Dr. Ian Cuttress. So he's a doctor, so it's a real deal. But he basically did a video where he slammed manufacturers for the way they advertise DDR4, not just DDR4, but just memory in general, and the way they advertise, say, 3600 megahertz speed memory, where it's not 3600 megahertz, it's 3600 mega transfers per second. And obviously, if it's double data rate, it should mean that it's 1800 megahertz, essentially. But it's the way they advertise it, because bigger numbers are better, essentially. So I'm gonna live up to what he says and see that the sweet spot for Ryzen 7000 series is 6000 mega transfers per second, which is going to be pretty interesting depending on the pricing for DDR5. But and also there's going to be support for what they're calling Expo memory. Now I can't remember if we touched on this in last week's episode, but Expo is basically AMD's equivalent of Intel's Extreme Memory Profile technology, or XMP. So that's going to be coming included with these new kits of DDR5 coming, especially for Ryzen 7000 series, which would be pretty good. What else have we got? So I'm kind of running through these because I don't want to be... some of it might be a bit boring to the chat, but it'll get better when we get to the actual motherboards we're going to take a look at. Because, of course, these specs will vary from motherboard to motherboard. They can choose to like drop some stuff in or out, depending on how it goes. But we've also got socket power draw up to 170 watts natively. Now, that's obviously one of the benefits with going along with an LGA socket as well. They are going to be able to increase that power delivery quite substantially. Now, the actual way they're going to manage that power delivery with the actual VRM design is going to vary from motherboard to motherboard. Because, of course, each brand and SKU are going to have a very different VRM design. But that is one of the things I will be able to highlight later on when we take a look at some of the motherboards. Stopping into the chat now, though. See, TechLab, LGA for the win. No idea why, just sounds fun on AMD. That's fair. I think some people are going to have a preference moving over if they have had experience with both socket types. I'm still half and half what I prefer. I've never had the issue where I've pulled out a Ryzen CPU. I don't know if you have, Jerry, but I've never had that problem. I think a lot of people make it. It's an easy mistake, though. Yeah, exactly. If it's stuck on the pump, that's quite an easy mistake to make. But I've never had it happen to me, so I'm probably not the best person to be like slandering people who have had that happen. But
it happened to me, and I fixed it with the hairdryer. It just heated the little radiator around the fan, and it popped off quite easily, so no problem. So I tried using floss because I saw a video saying it's super easy. Hells no, that was hard, man. I hit it with the hairdryer, the thermal paste softened, and it just popped off like nothing.
That's not as bad then. So, but did you warm up the CPU before?
Forgot.
That's what it is. So, if anyone's watching and doesn't know about that, if you're gonna remove an air cooler, AIO, whatever, run just run Cinebench for like 10 minutes before you take the CPU cooler off. And that way it'll it'll loosen the thermal paste a little bit, and it's much easier to get that to pop off. And also, don't yank it straight out of the socket. Give it a little wiggle, like caress it a little, give it a good time.
Wiggle.
And it'll pop out, like no problem. I'm hoping we're not going to get a spam bot pop in just because I said anything like that just now. But we'll see how we get on.
You jinxed it.
I might jinx it. We'll see how it goes. We haven't got to the end topic yet. That's the one where it's getting a bit like, I don't know, we might get a visitor
We're going to test it.
We'll test it out. We'll see how it goes. I'll let you handle the last topic on that, though. But anyway, that's fine. DDR5 seems to be pretty cheap right now. Well, this is something that we are going to be addressing later in the episode, so I won't go into it too much at the moment. But there is some good news about DDR5. But finishing things off with the sort of specs we're looking at for an AM5 motherboard. We've obviously got, like I've clarified, for my own notes I'm looking at here. So like the way they could manage PCIe Gen 5 support on each motherboard will obviously vary. And obviously it will be a bit different on the E motherboards. So an example of this could be they could say on like X670 non-E. They could have it where it's Gen 5 on the PCIe slot and then Gen 4 on storage. Just as like an example, it could be something like that. I can't verify that for myself until I've actually looked at some of the motherboards like a bit more up close and seen some more specs, but that's what we're looking at the moment. The one thing that I thought was pretty good is the fact that it's support for AM4 cooling, which is a really good way to actually be able to carry over coolers from a past generation and still use them on a new set of motherboards, which is going to help a lot of people, especially if they're upgrading from AM4, because they don't have to buy a new cooler. There may be, I don't know how it's going to work for mounting hardware, whether that's going to vary much. But if you look at the, well, you'll see them in the pictures now, but some of the motherboards have what looks like the same retention bracket for an AM4 socket. So if you're using like, sort of like the Wraith Prism uses like the lock-in, I can pull up on here actually. The Wraith Prism uses like the sort of like lever retention arms, the lock-in on the existing AM4 brackets. Or I think there's a couple of, maybe the H100i cooler from Corsair uses those as well. You'll see them pop up now in a minute, Jerry. But it's like the general, like the little plastic brackets you get on an AM4 backplate. So they're staying on here. You don't get them on LGA, on Intel rather. They don't tend to include a backplate because they just leave that down to the cooling manufacturer. But that's pretty good. Like I've got a ton of coolers for AM4. Like I could actually use any of those on an AM5 socket, which is really impressive. But TechLab brought up a really good point, and that was the fact that LGA 1700 changes were super annoying for coolers. Now, I think we clarified last week there was a couple of brands that were quite preemptive in ensuring support by getting mounting hardware out. But it depends what brand that was, and like some of them won't handle as well as other brands. But either way, it's good to see that's coming across, and also it's less e-waste, which is always a plus. What else we got? So finishing off, this is my favourite thing. There's a supposed 4 to 5 year lifespan on AM5 that they are currently projecting. So one of the best things about AM4 was been how long it's lasted as a socket for, well, since 2017. So you could have started out on like an X370 board. Or maybe not X370. I'm not sure what they did for support on Ryzen 5000 series for that, because it was a little dicey. It got to a certain point. But there is ways of doing it. You could technically install, well, you could have a B350 or X370 board, maybe a Ryzen 1600, 1700, whatever you had, and then today you could now install a 5900X if you wanted to. That's pretty crazy. So the fact they're going to try and keep that going for AM5 is pretty cool. Now, is there anything from there that's quite surprising to you, Jerry, or is there any of those like specs you wanted to draw attention to?
I saw some people say that, because what did they say, 2025 or more, they were going to support AM5?
Roughly,
and,
something along those lines, I think.
Yeah, and so I saw a lot of people complaining, saying that that the last gen had, like, 7 years, 8 years of support, like you said. So, I mean, even if it was, let's just say like 4 years of support, do you feel like that's more than enough for your money's worth on a purchase?
I would think so, but not a lot of people buy that many CPUs. We're kind of the outliers in this, that we would buy more hardware over time. But like, people don't buy a CPU every 2-3 years generally.
Yeah, they usually skip a gen. I think that's always a good idea too when upgrading to something. Usually skip the gen after and just go for whatever's after. But yeah, I don't know. I maybe I agree with them, but I feel like we just got spoiled. Because Intel, every 2 gens they make a new motherboard.
That's it, yeah. But I think that came back to bite AMD in the first place with Ryzen 5000 series, because there was a big debacle about support on B450 and X470. And it was only because of the outrage in the community that they actually said, oh yeah, we can actually implement that. We'll get a BIOS update for that after release. It was like, right, okay. But like, it was you could tell they were struggling to like justify the limited like actual like capacity on the motherboards to support so many CPUs. Because if you think about like a general Intel platform, so let's use Z690 as an example, because it's a current gen for Intel, and the fact that it can support a 12100 all the way up to a 12900K, along with some like lower like Celeron CPUs and stuff like that. But like, just say from a 12100 to a 12900K, and then after that it'll be the next generation 13100 to the 13900K. Now for AMD, they've got to add support from the Ryzen like first gen lineup all the way up to Ryzen 5000 series. That's a lot of CPUs, and there's very limited space on a motherboard's ROM for that in the first place. That's why they introduced these 32 megabyte ROMs for B452, I think they called it, something along those lines. but those B450 boards had a higher ROM capacity in order to support the actual amount of CPUs that would be included in a BIOS package, which is pretty crazy. But yeah, if they can do it, all the more power to them. But obviously, it did introduce the issues with people learning how to do a BIOS update, which not everyone is that comfortable with doing. And I think we had that with someone last week was stopping in to ask for some assistance. I think they figured it out in the end. I think we helped them out enough.
I think so. And they didn't question anymore, so I think they're good.
I think that's all right there then. So like, you might stop in tonight and say like, "Oh yeah, I bricked my motherboard." Like, sorry, bro. What can I do?
He's all sorry. I have Intel. He's on the wrong platform.
But yeah, TechLab just brought up a very interesting point though on going back to the actual socket itself. So he said the AMD LGA socket isn't any bigger than the PGA socket though, is it? Sorry, I read that really poorly. Like, it's a long day. It's like, though, is it? No. Whereas the LGA 1700 was much bigger than the LGA 15, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so the thing that they managed to do is actually keep the... the y-axis is like when you refer to the height. I mixed these up.
Yeah, that's the y-axis.
The y-axis is the same on AM5 as it is for AM4, which is how they've retained AM4 cooler support, which is pretty impressive. I always get that mixed up. So XYZ. So Y is up. I don't know.
Can't you edit your own videos, man?
Yeah, I don't talk about axes in my videos. Like that's a whole different discussion. But yeah. So while we've gone through all those specs, let's actually get to the interesting part. Rather than me rattling off some specs, let's take a look at a couple of motherboards. So we've got a couple here from Gigabyte at the moment. So it's got 4 that are highlighted on here. And let's take a look at the X670E Aorus Extreme, which around here is around $500. So like, this is the thing you are going to see with these X670E motherboards, that they're going to be a lot more highly priced compared to their non-E counterparts, which is to be expected. They're obviously offering additional features and additional overclocking support with a much beefier VRM design as well. So
most lanes are probably going to be Gen 5, no? Or
yeah, so I think there's a lot less limitations on Gen 5 lanes on them, essentially.
Okay.
But yeah, so we've got this picture up here. Pretty nice. The Aorus Extreme has always been a bit of a premium board anyway in the first place. But what have we got in here? Some more pictures on there. So we just got... It has a... I've always been conflicted on these backplates for motherboards. Not like a backplate for like the actual CPU cooler, but like... They call it like motherboard armor. Have you ever seen those kind of motherboards?
No, I haven't heard of that term, motherboard armor, but
it'll pop up on the screen on the stream now. But it's so it has like has like a backplate design on the motherboard itself. I could find some sort of like use for it if essentially it had some sort of like connection through to like NVMe M.2s on the back, perhaps something like that.
Does that help you from grounding it, or does that make grounding it easier since it's all metal?
Could do. I think a lot of it is kind of just like for added flair most of the time. Because I know me, if I had a motherboard with that, I'd be like, right, let's take that off. Right, I'm done. I'm not putting that back. At least it doesn't cover up the back plate for the cooler, which would be a bit more irritating.
I guess for the double panel cases, it's pretty nice. If you could see it through the back.
Oh, okay, I could see that. I can see that actually. Like, because my case, the Torrent Compact has a tempered glass side panel for the rear, but it does have like a motherboard tray that is blocking that way you would see the motherboard anyway, so it's kind of like defeats the purpose on there. But
plus the wires.
Yeah, there's that as well then. So taking a look on this now for this article says, in terms of I/O, the motherboard is equipped with 3 PCI by 16 slots, 1 Gen 5 by 8, 2 Gen 4 by 4. Oh, okay, so it does have Force Gen 4 on some of the slots on there. So it is like it's going to vary from board to board anyway. But it said a total of 4 PCI Gen 5 by M.2 slots. Okay.
There you go.
Well, I've got 4 M.2 slots on Z690, and it's like that is one of the crucial things I am missing out on with B450 for my main desktop, is that I'm so limited when it comes to NVMe support, because I can use a Gen 3 NVMe SSD in the main slot, and in the second slot that drops down to PCI Gen 2 speeds. So I'm very limited. I can't do much with it. What else we got? So the mobile comes with 6 SATA 3 ports. I'm still quite surprised that a lot of motherboards aren't even like opting to like not even include that. I know a lot of people still use SATA drives. I still do. I've got two
I was, I was gonna
2.5
ask
inch
you, do you use all
SSDs.
six?
Do I use what?
Do you use six? I always feel like the SATA ports are overkill, but
I'm using well, no, I'm using 2 at the moment. But I know it's
I'm
an
using two
issue
as
on my
well.
it's an issue on my TrueNAS because I've maxed out the amount of SATA ports I can use on that because I can only use 4 out of 6 because if I use an M.2 drive, it disables 2 of them. So I could always do it more, but like I wouldn't use that for a TrueNAS. Be completely overkill, I think. And what have we got? What I want to take a look at is the thing that we are going to differentiate the most between other motherboards is going to be its actual VRM design. So does it have a breakdown for the actual power delivery on this? It doesn't seem to show what it is on this article. Let's take a look at the next motherboard in this lineup. So we've got the slightly lower down, so the X670E or Master motherboard. And this was going for $360 US all rounder, okay. And it's pretty similar looking design, in all honesty, to be fair. I'm guessing that it doesn't include, yeah, it doesn't show a picture of it. It doesn't have the backplate for the actual motherboard itself, but it has a full cover for the actual like sort of heatsink design on it. Yeah, it's not giving me much when it comes to actual like VRM designs on these, but
The next one does. The next one tells you the difference between let's
oh
say
yeah, this
the
one now. So
Gigabyte
the
X670 Aorus Pro.
that's the one, yeah. So it's got a 16 plus 2 plus 2 90 amp power stage on that. So it's actually like nice to be actually getting that information on there, which is pretty good. Uh, yeah, so that was a bit more plain compared to the more higher end models. But that's sort of getting into the sort of class where I would start to consider is where it's around like the sort of sub $300 range for a motherboard. I don't need a motherboard more expensive than that if I'm being totally honest. I don't know many people that would unless they are looking for something that has an excessive like amount of power delivery when it comes to overclocking and a lot of PCIe lanes. So it's somewhere in
And
this
if they're
sort of
gonna
range.
be,
Sorry, go on.
I say if they like to liquid cool too, then I would just recommend getting a high end board if you're gonna be pushing your
Oh,
CPU like
definitely.
that. Yeah, it's just if you're already spending that much money, just go all out.
Yeah, I think it does depend on the certain buyer because like some people will buy based on the fact that they want the flagship from a specific series anyway, so it can't be helped. But yeah, these are a couple of the motherboards going on here. I won't go through every single one of them because obviously we got to press on to some other stuff, but we are seeing some pretty interesting looking motherboard designs anyway coming up to AM5 now, and I'm still torn. I need to do a bit more research myself, depending on what reviews are looking like. But I can see myself going between Gigabyte to MSI on an
Or
except
the Tomahawk.
maybe, but I want to see more on B650 at the moment because I haven't seen much posted on those, and
Yeah.
that may be a possible option that I go for, but we'll have to wait and see. But was there any that were like tickling your fancy, Jerry, that you were eyeing up as you were going through them?
Um. Well, I do like. It's funny because my cousin asked me. Like, I told you he was building his first PC. He asked me if a Gigabyte makes good motherboards, and I'm like, well, they're one of my top three in motherboards. It'd be Gigabyte, MSI, or ASUS, and I'd probably stick with ASUS because, I mean, me and TechLab talked about this. TechLab said that all his ASUS cards have died on him, or his motherboards have died on him. All
Okay,
mine have. They run anything. They run 24/7, no problems. I literally have one from the trash, and it's still alive. And
fair.
I had that running 24/7 for a while. Yeah, so like, I'd probably go for an ASUS motherboard. But man, there's so much money, dude. It's just,
They do,
I
especially for the
can't even.
ROG Strix lineup. They do offer a premium. Oh, not so much for the ROG Strix, but more so like the
The
Crosshair
ROG.
ones they offer.
No, the ROG Strix are pretty expensive too. Anything ROG, what is it? The ROG tax? It's a lot.
Maybe that, yeah. But compared to the Crosshair, I think it's relatively
Yeah.
cheaper looking at that. But what's TechLab selling you? So I will sit there saying because of the 2025 support, I will buy high end at the start and no more. But I will end up buying several anyway. Always do. That's fair enough. If you've got the money to spare to like splurge on a couple, then you may as well. But that's kind of tying in with what I was thinking with how I'm looking at this now. Because I'd be buying. I am going to be kind of getting to that early adopter area, which can be a little daunting. But then I could also say that, well, I've got an AM5 motherboard that will support me up until that date range, wherever it is. And then I could upgrade to whatever, like, I don't have no idea what it'll be after Ryzen 7000 series. Will they skip 8000, go to 9000, and so forth? But either way, I could like buy another CPU in a couple of years' time and drop it in with that support. So he's clarified on here now. So he said tends to buy MSI motherboards, so we'll see what they offer. Right, okay. Now, I'd quite like MSI. My main thing, as well as obviously the features that they offer on a specific board, is the BIOS itself. Now, I quite like them. I'm probably the most comfortable using the MSI BIOS. And then besides that, the only other BIOS I'm most comfortable using is probably Gigabyte, I would say. ASUS is okay, but like MSI is probably like my most comfortable BIOS to like navigate through and like look for specific features and whatnot. And it's also probably one of the ones I'm most comfortable with when it comes to like specific settings, when it comes to like voltage control for like LLC settings and general overclock stuff like that. But it's got a very personal. I think everyone has a horror story about a particular motherboard brand. I think some people just do. Like some people are like, oh, all my Gigabyte boards have died, and someone's like, oh, I've only ever had Gigabyte boards and they're totally fine. So it will just vary, I think, at the end of the day. Let's just see how it goes, I think. And especially once we get some reviews out and we all pay close attention to Buildzoid's motherboard breakdowns, we should have a bit of a good idea on what is actually a good motherboard to buy and what's not. And if I get a good one, I'll hopefully show you guys in a review. And if I get a bad one, then shame on me.
We'll find out. As long as it doesn't catch on fire, I think that's a pretty good bar to start at.
ASUS are kind of guilty in that department. Did you see there was some debate with Jay's 2 cents regarding that? Because he called them out. Well, he wasn't the first to call them out. Buildzoid called them out on the fact that they put a capacitor like the wrong way on one of their Z690 boards. But there was some sort of legal action to do with Jay's 2 cents, or am I misremembering something?
Yeah, well, ASUS said they were gonna do a recall on it, and he did a video on that saying that they're gonna fix it. And then I guess a couple months passed, and he recently talked about it, saying that they didn't really do a recall or like an official recall. Anyways, they contacted some people within certain model numbers and let them know that go ahead and switch your cards. But I guess some of the cards some of the motherboards that they had were, I think, one caught on fire, but its model numbers wasn't specified, so they didn't get the warranty on their card, even though it caught on fire. And some people had like the same range and same dates, but not the model numbers, so they were worried. And yeah, so I guess technically there's not an official recall, and that's not good. So I think that's kind of.
So I forgot my mic was muted. I think it was a very limited batch that actually was affected by that.
Yeah, but I guess some of them out of that batch number were affected, and since they're not in that number of the recall, ASUS wasn't taking them. So that's a problem there.
But you don't want to be that guy though. Like, oh, remember those Z690 boards? Funny story.
And that wasn't. Yeah. See, that's one of them when I saw it, I was like, oh, I had to be an ASUS card or a motherboard, huh? Sorry, I'm just used to saying card.
It's a shame.
But and like Tech Lab, we were talking earlier. Well, kind of talking earlier. He got an ASRock motherboard, and dude, a lot of people talk trash about ASRock, but every ASRock card or motherboard I have tested has been solid, has been reliable, no problem. So I don't know.
I've had some bad experience with ASRock. I should probably step in on. I completely forgot about because I haven't touched many ASRock boards, just a couple of B450 ones. But I originally had an ASRock B450. I can't remember the specific model, but it was an ITX motherboard from ASRock. Oh, Steel Legend, yeah. It's the ITX Steel Legend I had. And either it was an issue with the BIOS not supporting a 3200G, or it could have been to do with the memory kit I was using, but I couldn't actually get it to boot with that CPU and like RAM combo. So I know that could have been a BIOS issue, that I didn't have a CPU to spare to actually do an update on it. It could have been that, but like either way, so a negative experience. But it's whose side that was on it depends. But then I built a system for someone using the ATX Steel Legend, and there's some very strange issues with the way that it like managed like the actual like CPU temperatures and like the way the sensors worked. Because it was giving me some really high idle temperatures compared to normal for what like a typical Ryzen CPU would idle at. And a lot of that could be because of the way the V-core would work on a Ryzen CPU, which is a whole different like discussion in itself. But it was reporting really high idle temperatures on like a pretty, not a special cooler, but it was still not that bad. It was on a Wraith Stealth, but this was for a Ryzen 3100, which is a 4-core, like 8-thread CPU, 65 watt TDP. It's not exactly a really hot running CPU, but like that could have been maybe like a power management issue where it was driving more voltage than necessary. But that was a whole big debate, not just with ASRock boards, but back like a couple of years ago. I'm not sure if you caught that, where people were getting really concerned about the way that Ryzen CPUs manage voltage at idle. Was that something you saw back in the day?
I don't remember hearing too much about it, but I think I had no issues. All my 3 series ran fine. Um, oh, that's odd though.
We'll tell you what
Was
we're
that
gonna
like
do.
on their auto overclock, or you know
Well,
how the
I'll tell you what I'm gonna
3000
do. I
series?
think I learned something from a Builds Live video to do with how the way the V-core works, and especially for load line calibration. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna do a little bit of an art class right now. If we can load this up, let's see if we can get.
We're gonna paint.
We're gonna get paint. Let's go with paint. So I can try and illustrate the way that this issue was happening. For here we go. Right, we got paint open now. We resize that. We got a quick resize. Let's do some drawings. So if I'm not butchering this sort of like thing, so basically we have this line again. These are very horrible like illustrations I'm doing right now. But picture this is your load on there. So your bottom line is load, and then this line is V-core. And so the way you would typically see for a Ryzen CPU, we're gonna go pencil. I'm going freehand with this now.
Yeah, let's
So
go.
let's picture.
Is that
Let's clarify.
is this in the budget?
In the budget, maybe, I don't know. Let's clarify the top as 1.45. Let's go for that as our top voltage. And then let's say around here is 1.35. And then let's go really low. Let's go 1.25. Not really low, but fairly low if we're talking about like a Ryzen CPU. So, the way you would see for... Give me my pencil back. Where's my pencil? Here we go. So, when you're using an idle... when your CPU is idling, it's going to be using more voltage than necessary when it comes to load. And it's not going to mean it's actually going to be drawing more power and damaging the CPU. That's just the way the power management works, so that power is there essentially. So you'd be casually idling here with your CPU just casually going up and down like this. And then let's say we got to this point where you've opened up something that's CPU intensive. And now what happens is you get what's called V-droop, where your CPU voltage will drop depending on the load, and then it'll go back up, and it'll then go for the continued load on there. And then when you come out of whatever's CPU intensive, it'll shoot back up and go back up to a fairly standard idle voltage. Now, none of that is detrimental to a CPU. That is the way they're designed to actually turbo boost in the first place. Is that you don't need to be pushing like essentially more voltage than necessary for a multi-core workload. But then once it drops down into an actual workload, it'll go to something more reasonable, like say 1.35 volts. And then when it comes to load line calibration, because this V-droop can be an issue for stability depending if you're overclocking. If you're choosing LLC or low line calibration, essentially, I'm not going to erase that, it can stay there. Rather than dropping down this low, it'll say a little more reasonable, so maybe 1.375. And that way ensures stability a little bit better. But, yeah, so that was like the main issue that people were raising up to do with like those ASRock boards. Well, no, it wasn't just for ASRock, but like that was one of the things that could have been like flagged up, I'm guessing. But, yeah. I just find it interesting the way it works for like sort of like motherboards when it comes to the actual power regulation on them. But that could have been an issue. Going back to ASRock though, I think we're going to put a bit of a tangent there and an art lesson. But Yeah, I'm not a fan of ASRock, if I'm being totally honest. I think that's probably my one brand I could probably call out. The only one I can't call out
There
is
we go.
BioStar. I've never used a BioStar motherboard.
Yeah, I don't think I have either.
But Tech Lab, free. Let's take a look what he's got another chat on it. Now the board is fine, just the LAN wouldn't work until I got into Windows and installed the drivers. Oh, okay. So it was some sort of driver issue related thing for himself. But £330 reduced to 140, although so can't complain. ITS is expensive. Yeah, well, they're cramming a lot more features in a much smaller footprint, so there is going to be a bit of a tax when it comes to that. Especially the way that they actually do try and drop down on certain features. Like we talked about last week, there's actually an ASUS motherboard, I can't remember what chipset it's on, that they've actually dropped out the front panel connector to actually save space on the motherboard. So there is those things you have to consider as well with the fact that they are cutting out on features for the size. But yeah, I think we've gone on quite a long tangent about motherboards there. But I told you earlier in the stream, motherboards are my thing. I like to talk about them.
Yeah, that's true.
But let's take a look on here. What else we've got? I did have a thing I was going to report on regarding Ryzen 7000 series CPUs running quite hot. I haven't really got too much to say about this, but like given we kind of touched on this a little bit with the way power regulation works on motherboards, we can quickly just give this a shout out before we move on to the next article. But
bring it home, bro. Bring it home.
Yep. AMD Ryzen 7000 CPUs reportedly run hot. Ryzen's 9 7950X hits up to 95C thermal threshold at 230 watts. Ryzen 5 7600X up to 90C at 120 watts. Now, it's clarified a bit lower down in here that, let's take a look. Where was this bit I was looking at? So coming to the meat of the details, it is reported that the AMD Ryzen 9 7950X will throttle below 5 GHz under intensive tasks as it comes with a 95C thermal threshold or TG max, and you'll need some beefy coolers to keep the chip running under that. At full load in stock configuration, the CPU is said to consume up to 230 watts of power and operate at up to 95C. The Ryzen 5 7600X is also a similar scenario with the chip consuming up to 120 watts of full power at load at hit temps of up to 90C. So they have said that some of these motherboards, CPUs rather, they've used, they have actually had to use a 360mm AIO to actually cool these as well. And they were getting those temperatures with a 360mm AIO supposedly. So, sorry, I just remembered we didn't do the intro at the beginning, but we will do it next time. I clicked on it by mistake and I was like, wait a second. But yeah, it should come with no surprise the fact that they are up in the actual power delivery on these CPUs, that there is going to be some sort of problems when it comes to thermals and whatnot, and it should come as no surprise, especially as they're shifting down in a node process to a 5nm manufacturing process anyway. So it's a smaller die, and obviously that's more heat that's concentrated in one small area, so that is going to increase the thermal output as well. But the things we are going to have to see with these is that they are more power efficient at certain loads under a certain speed, which would be pretty interesting to take a look at in itself. But for people who are considering Ryzen 7000 series, they may have to actually consider their cooling a solution a little bit more. Now,
yeah, you might need to buy a bigger case now too, since you're gonna upgrade to motherboard DDR5.
That's true. At least if you were using a cooler, there's a bit more compatibility for that, but maybe not for a 360, depending on what your case is. But it's going to vary from person to person. But I didn't have much to really add to it, but I thought I'd just it's kind of closely related to the topic we were just covering just now. But how would you feel with these being pretty hot running?
I would say as long as the performance is up, I don't mind it too much. I understand that this is what the route they have to go to get there. It is nice to have cooler parts though, but especially during the summer when you have no AC, you know.
There's trade-offs, isn't there?
Yeah. I was gonna say, how big is your AIO?
I'm not using an AIO at the moment.
Oh wow.
I'm using a NHU12. Yeah, NHU12A. I'm using. I just had to check. My case is like pitch black. I don't even know. I can't see in there at the moment.
Is that a dual fan one?
That is, yeah. So it's a dual fan 120mm cooler. But yeah, if I was to go for maybe a 7900X, maybe I'd be half tempted to go back to an all-in-one solution. But I've only got 240mm AIOs. I haven't got any 360s at hand. So I would have to potentially try and get hold of a 360mm cooler. Maybe I could
hit up Washitech.
get in touch with him. Maybe we can share some coolers with us.
He has he has a bunch. It looks like.
But
Every time I see his videos.
I was looking at 360mm coolers the other day, and I quite like the look at the EK ones. Like I quite like the pump block design on those.
I have a review on that.
You've done a review on an EK cooler?
No, I just did an unboxing.
Just an unboxing.
My cousin got one. Yeah, I wasn't able to test it out. He didn't have all the parts. He just had the cooler, and everything else didn't come in. But I kind of do want to grab it and test it out one of these days. But we're both so busy, it's kind of tough.
I'm gonna find this video. I'm gonna save this while I've got it here. Oh, I found it. EK AIO Elite 360 DRGB unboxing. Right. Save.
Yeah, he just does. It's just not the block is in RGB. Everything else is, which is kind of odd because I think it's the most expensive one he bought. So
right.
It's kind of odd that the block wasn't RGB. It is nice though. It is a nice looking card. He figured they make good water cooling systems, so why not get AIO from them?
Do you want to hear something crazy, Jerry?
Sure. I love hearing crazy things.
So like, I don't want to like blow your mind too much, but like, I might actually put some RGB in my main system.
That's pretty wild. What, some fans or what?
Yeah. So looking at fans potentially. There's a few reasons why. The first reason is because I need to do a test stream of me like working on a system on live essentially. So maybe doing like a simple thing like swapping out some fans and like whatnot on stream could be a good way to test that. The other reason is because if people are aware, most people I guess from watching the channel would know that the way my setup works is that in the videos my setup is in the background, so you can see my PC right there, and you can't really see anything. Like it's a tinted tempered glass, so you can't really see much in there. So I thought maybe for the videos, it should be a bit more interesting to take a look at, like, and see in the background. I think, oh, there's something going on there. And also, I've got these Be Quiet fans to hand that might look quite cool, so I might go for that. Yeah. And maybe change out the. Go on.
I say, why don't you just take off the glass? At least when you're showcasing the PC.
Could do, but then everyone would be like, "Oh my god, look at that cable management." It'd be on show.
Well, we're gonna talk about ugly cable management. Look what's behind me, showing 24/7.
Admittedly, mine's not that bad, but like, there's a my USB 3.0 connector on my motherboard is on the bottom rather than on the side, and where it comes out the USB 3.0 connector from the front panel, it has to like sort of like go over the top of my intake fans on the bottom, and it doesn't look good. So the tempered glass kind of hides that a little bit, but and maybe I'd change out the cooler for the CPU, depending. And it'd be like a bit of a warm-up stream to see how it works. So then when I upgrade to Ryzen 7000 series, I do a live stream focusing on like the swap for the system. So it could be cool. It might betray my anti-RGB lifestyle, you know? Like, I don't want to betray my beliefs. But
you got a taste of colorful PCs when you built that last one. Your streaming PC?
I know. I think that's the problem.
Yeah, you like that sweetness of RGB. You like the rainbow puke.
The problem is I set it to one color. I'm like, right, done. I'm never going to touch that ever again. It stays like on red or like another color, and then that's it. It's done. I've got some Corsair ML RGB fans, but I use those for my standardized case fan testing. So I need them to hand. I can't use them in like a daily system. But maybe the Be Quiet ones, like the Light Wings, could go for that. Cooler, I'm unsure of. But like that'll be something I'll visit in like a later video and stream. We'll see how it goes. TechLab has just clarified his feelings on RGB because everyone's into RGB and I'm not, apparently. But he's got a Meshify 2 with a Lumen S36, so all good. He went for full RGB everything bar the fans, Noctua. Now I've got Noctua fans in my case, so I can stand to that. On the main system, then realised we can't even see the side, so turned it all off. Oh, okay, there we go. I think he solved that problem there anyway, but yeah. Maybe I'll have to get your
I'll
input
say-
on this, Jerry, on how I go about implementing RGB in the best way.
Um, for you, go all out. Just
All out.
kidding. Uh, yeah, I don't know. What's your favorite color?
Black.
Yeah,
No,
that's not bad.
no. I'd say
Well,
like,
let's say
I go
go
for a
with
red theme. I do most of the time.
Okay. I'd say if it's an all AMD build, then go for red. If it's NVIDIA, I don't know, green's not that pleasant looking. Well, right now I just go for RGB on my PC just because these fans back here are for RGB or rainbow, you know. So it's just I just want to match that. But I go with the white look. It's not too crazy, you know. It still looks nice. It looks classy.
That's
So,
good. Yeah.
yeah, it reflects nice with the little white lettering on a lot of my stuff. Oh, and then my GPU's like silver, so it looks nice with that too. And,
That's good.
You said you're only doing the fan RGB, right?
Maybe it'd be like a little just like pimping the system a little bit out, you know, just nothing performance wise, just some cosmetics, I suppose. But like to show where I'm at with that stance on RGB, when I put together not put together my system, but when I transferred my system into the Torrent Compact, I did have one singular Corsair RGB strip that I used on a white setting just to illuminate the case. And then I found I couldn't actually fit it in the Torrent Compact in a neat way. So, like, if you ever seen the Top Gear meme where it's like, oh no! Anyway, I just kind of flung that away and I was done with that then. But, I'll see. I'll update you guys on where I go for that.
I say pick up on Amazon just a little disco ball, you know, maybe like a keychain one. Just hang it from the middle of one of your fans and let it illuminate with your lights on, whatever you choose.
That'd be good.
You chose pink cables last time. Just go with pink lighting.
Maybe we could go for that.
Pretty well.
You know, one of my favorite things is when I'm looking on like the sort of PCMR subreddit or like any sort of PC building subreddits, is I see this all the time where someone will put up a picture where like, oh, I've got a Funko Pop or a car in my computer. Is this okay? It's like, well, no. The computer will not turn on. Like if you put anything inside there, it just will cease to work. There's like
some people actually say that the Funko Pop will melt of how hot the GPU gets. And I'm like, that's insane. That has to be scalding hot for it to melt on there.
would be a little much, but I think the actual case ambience isn't that bad. But like I think people are like, is this bad for the systems? Like, no, it depends how many there are, maybe. Like maybe you had like 100 Funkos in a case, then maybe you'd be struggling a little bit.
What about Hennessy? Is that bad for the system?
How long has that been in your system?
Oh man. Whoa. In my system or my PC?
In your PC. You know, just
Yeah.
But mind you, cognac
Oh,
lasts
wow.
ages though. I was gonna say, would you drink it now?
It's there for emergency. I don't know what the occasion's gonna be, but one day I'm gonna need to take a shot and
How long does cognac last? Must be a while.
forever.
Should be right then.
It'll be like they put rum in little basements on beaches on stranded islands, so I think Hennessy should be fine. Isn't it the more age the better anyways?
I suppose, but I'm trying to like see if I can justify keeping a can of Guinness in my case. Might not be the best idea.
Yeah. Maybe if you get the one with the little nitro ball, it'll keep it a little fresher.
Maybe, I don't know. Just like, does one of these suit in the side of a case? You know, just like I could use it as a GPU stand. That would be pretty good.
Yeah. You could always buy a little shot glass that has Guinness on it. Keep it in there.
That is one way to do it. TechLab, I think you have bigger issues if your PC gets hot enough to melt a Funko Pop. I think that's pretty true in itself. So I think you have to contend with that at a later point. So I thought we'd get on to... Let's get on to one of our next topics. As we were mentioning about DDR5 earlier, the good news is entry-level DDR5 price is expected to drop rapidly this year. Whoop whoop, as they say. On this Tom's Hardware article, which is based on a report from Digitimes Asia, The DDR5 memory prices are expected to plunge in the second half of 2022 and continue to drop in 2023. DDR5 contract prices reportedly fell by 20% in July, and chip vendors have begun offloading entry-level DDR5 chips, with consumer DDR5 module pricing at channel distributors falling below that of memory module manufacturers. DigiTimes says prices will continue to drop rapidly in the second half of 2022 and will hit the sweet spot, in quotation marks, in 2023.
Careful.
Falling DDR5 prices are also expected to boost the adoption rate of DDR5. This is what we're hoping. This is on top of the rapid price reductions on DDR5 this year. Unfortunately, these sources don't say DDR5 sweet spot pricing, but we expect optimal prices to be close to DDR4 pricing, if not identical. And of course, it goes in on there to say that this is tying in with the release of Ryzen 7000 series and with Raptor Lake coming very soon from Intel. Now, this has been probably my biggest concern with these new platforms is actually the actual cost to get DDR5, because the Ryzen CPUs are kind of like in line almost with previous generation, so that's fine. Motherboards are a little bit more expensive than they would be previously because of the new socket type, so there is a bit of an additional cost, especially with LGA being slightly more expensive. But then DDR5 has just been astronomically priced, and that's been the biggest barrier to entry for the platform as a whole, even for Alder Lake as well. So to see pricing coming down is a really good sign, and it seems strange to think that there was like a big premium on memory. When you think of like, memory is not quite the most exciting piece of hardware when it comes to like a new platform purchase. I don't know if that's just me, but you could like it's no GPU. Let's put it that way. But DDR5 pricing coming down is going to be a very big factor in like how many people actually adopt AM5 anyway. So seeing it come down is pretty cool. Was that one of the things that you would have considered when speccing the system out for your cousin, Jerry?
Yeah, most definitely. Especially since we were looking at some, and they were a little cheaper, but they didn't have any RGB on it. I know.
That's a no-go, isn't it? Like,
yeah, that's the sweet spot for you. But I was just like, man, this is your first build. We can get some DDR4 for cheaper and make it look nicer and better timing. So why not? So that did make a difference as well. But just with the other prices being low as well, it's, might as well. So I think this is a good sign for everybody. DDR5 going down. That way you can save some money on your expensive motherboard, because as we saw, those prices are going to be pretty high.
that is going to be a big benefit. I'm just taking a look at pricing on Scan at the moment, and truth be told, I haven't actually looked at the pricing on Scan for memory in quite some time. I've only looked on Amazon, and it was looking about just under £200 for a 5200 speed kit of memory. But Scan has got some really good deals going. Oh, I say really good again. These prices should go down, but if we're looking at 32 gigabyte kit of 5200 speed memory from Corsair, £167 reduced from £184. That's a bit more reasonable. What about higher speed? Like we were saying earlier about the sweet spot being around 6,000 mega transfers per second. I'm using that term very specifically to not offend Tech Potato. I don't know if they're even selling any kits of 6,000 speed on here. So maybe... oh no, I lied. They do have a kit of 6,000 speed. It's RGB though, so it's obviously not very good. Oh no,
they actually add frames.
The RGB kit is about just over £10, or it's about £15 more cheaper than the non-RGB kit. So we take a look on here. So you got the Corsair Vengeance RGB kit, 32 gigs again, 6,000 megahertz. Meg transfers per second. Okay, and we got CAS 40. I'm not going to go through the full timings for these, because as we saw in a previous episode, the CAS latencies are high for DDR5. That's just a given now. But of course, the one thing we'll see is these are obviously XMP 3.0 verified. There will be Expo verified memory modules at launch. So maybe that's where we'll see some more affordable 6,000 megahertz kits. And I've said megahertz again. I've let the side down, but you know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
But once
And
like you
it's
say,
so
once you get past about once you get past 5200 speed, like the prices just go way higher. So I think it's still got a ways to go. But if these reports are accurate, it could be extremely useful. And maybe, Jerry, maybe I'll get some RGB RAM. Maybe I'll push the boat out.
maybe it'll help you out. It's gonna be funny the day you just have a light bulb PC.
Oh, I
It
know.
looks like the suitcase from Pulp Fiction when you look at it.
We good? Yeah, we're good.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's what they say.
yeah.
I think I got it right.
So
This sounds a bit off tangent, but what's Tarantino doing now? Like, it's not PC related, but still, like you just brought me onto that topic now.
making his last video, I'm assuming. Did you watch the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood?
Yes, that.
That's a good movie.
Can we spoil the ending by now? It's been a couple of years.
I think we can just give a quick spoiler warning.
Right. If you haven't seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, you need to say something now because we're gonna talk spoilers in in a moment. But like, I'll give you guys a bit of like time because I know there's a bit of like latency with the stream, like the way it comes out. But like, it's a good film though. But like,
Yeah.
is that like I still stand by my favorite Tarantino film being either Django Unchained or Pulp Fiction. Between those,
I'd go with Pulp Fiction, but Django Unchained is pretty cool too.
that's a good one. I do like that one.
Yeah.
What other ones? Kill Bill. You into Kill Bill?
I like Reservoir Dogs better than Kill Bill. I'm not the
Okay.
biggest Kill Bill fan, if we're being honest.
That's fair. I can understand that. It's a bit more, especially because it's like a continuation as well. It's got 2 films that they had to do for that as well.
Kind of like a live anime.
That's the one I did like. There was an anime segment in the one film that I thought was really well done.
Yeah. The whistle was catchy.
Oh yeah, and that as well. And didn't they have Tarantino's truck in that film as well?
I remember.
The something wagon.
I remember. I was gonna say. I remember in high school, we tried punching through our desks. You know how she punches up the coffin.
You did that on your desk.
Yeah, we couldn't do it. But,
It's like, damn, these films are so unrealistic.
yeah. So now we're just weak. We just need more training.
That's fair. Right. No one has said anything in the chat like about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood spoilers, so like I'm gonna go out there and say that the ending of that film is insane. They went on just like to clarify, like the end of the film is supposed to be like the murder of Sharon Tate. But in the film she doesn't get murdered. Instead
It's alternate timeline.
alternate timeline. So Brad Pitt's character and Leonardo DiCaprio's character both brutally murder the assassins that are trying to kill Sharon Tate. And Leonardo DiCaprio just comes out of nowhere with a flamethrower. I was like, what?
Yeah. Well, they foreshadowed that earlier in the.
Because he keeps props from his films, and that was one of the props was a flamethrower. So I was like, okay.
What he say? Oh man, this is too hot. He's like, a fucking flamethrower, dude. But yeah, no, that was a good. Oh, you know what's another one that's my favorite? Inglourious Bastards from Tarantino.
That's a good one. I didn't watch that up until very recently, though. I kind of missed out on the initial hype for it. But that's good. I did enjoy it. I watched it like about 2 years ago. Something like that, I think. And I also watched The Hateful Eight. I really enjoyed that one.
Yeah, that one was okay. I watched that while I was on a long road trip, like a 3-hour drive. So it actually made that drive pretty good.
That's fair, and the film was probably longer than the 3-hour drive, I think. I don't know.
Yeah, it was about the same. Pretty much when I got there is when it ended, so it worked out pretty good.
That's alright then. But it could be Tarantino's doing one more film and then he's done, but I can't remember. Are we supposed to be doing a Star Trek film? I think.
Is he?
That would be interesting.
I'm not too sure. That's wild. Yeah, that's gonna be crazy.
Like, you're like, do you know what they call a Royale with cheese in space?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Blast him with the laser gun, and just.
So he's in the back of the car. He's like,
Yeah.
we killed so and so by mistake.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Oh
Sorry,
yeah.
bit of a
It's great.
tangent, but I like a Tarantino film. I enjoy Tarantino ones. Especially when you
Yeah.
see those news. See that news report where like that woman was complaining about the level of violence in his films, and she's like, "How can you defend that level of violence?" She's like, "Cause it's fun."
Yeah. Yeah, I think Tarantino has a free pass of he can do whatever he wants now. You know, he's made it.
Yeah, he's pretty happy
cemented
now.
himself as that type of director. You know.
Yeah, I can't remember if he got. Did he get caught up in the like the Weinstein controversy? Because obviously a lot
Oh,
of
you
his.
know what? A piece of us vlogs has never seen Tarantino films, and I always tell him like, bro, you gotta watch.
What?
Yeah.
Right. I'm gonna
But
give my definitive list. My top five, I would say, and then
dude,
like
I've already done this.
you've done this with him. Well, I'll give him my top five, and then we're gonna move
Uh,
on to our penultimate story.
okay. All
Uh,
right, that's fine.
so number one, I'm going to put Pulp Fiction. Number two, Django Unchained. Number three, Kill Bill Volume 1, specifically. And number four, I'm going to say Death Proof. Death Proof is a wild film. And
I didn't like that one too much.
didn't like it. It was a bit of a weird one because it was a double feature with Robert Rodriguez with Planet Terror.
Yeah, Planet. Yeah.
Yeah. I put that at number four. I quite like that one though. Number five. Number five, I would say maybe Hateful Eight. I would say I quite like that one. So write those down and come back to us in next week's episode and tell us you watched all five of them. If you haven't, then well, I'll be sorely disappointed.
Yeah, so like I said, we've been through this talk already. He said if he watches them, he wants to watch them from like when they release, all the way to the newest one. So.
Well, even the original ones are worth watching, I think.
I don't believe him. This has been like years conversation.
Well, we'll let him decide if he wants to do that. But for now, though, let's get back to some more GPUs. Enough about Tarantino. So, as we always like to report whenever we do see anything slightly interesting to do with Intel, they finally give us some more details on Intel Arc, if anyone is still interested in their graphics cards coming out. Because they just don't seem to be doing it much at the moment. But they said, Intel details its ray tracing graphics performance. Their A770 beats the NVIDIA RTX 3060 by 14% on average.
Nice.
Now, that's pretty interesting to see. And
3060.
now that's about where I wanted them to be aiming when it came to performance. Ideally sooner than like right before like a next gen launch. But that's where I was expecting. But if we take a look, we'll just get straight to the actual benchmarks on here. Open the image in a new tab. And it's just as big, never mind. But yeah, so we got some benchmarks on here. And if they can maintain a sort of like similar like performance level as they are to the RTX 3060, maybe I'd be interested in what they've got to show for it. But they, I keep saying this, they just need to come out with it.
Yeah.
Because I don't care if it competes with an RTX 3060 when the 4060 comes out in like 2-3 months. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, I get it. It's funny because they keep saying all these features on it. It's like, well, yeah, can we see it for ourselves? It'd be nice to see all these features.
Like, nuh-uh.
It's like, oh, this new GPU is gonna be able to turn into a flying car. Like, all right, well, let's test it out.
Maybe Intel are just really shy. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I guess.
Yeah, so we got a range of benchmarks on here now. So it's I'd like to quite see like what the actual like settings they are using for these, because like 30 FPS around that level in Cyberpunk 2077 isn't much to show off. More so just to show it's better than the 3060 in that title. But
Yeah.
Especially given that it's at 1080p. So I would quite like to see what those settings are as well. Of course, I'm guessing
30 frames.
Yeah, well, it's 30 frames on the 3060, and it looks like it says 33 on the A770. But
Let's see what I got. 1080p.
1080p. Looking at those ones.
All right, so Cyberpunk Ultra benchmark at 1080p, The PNY Accelerated Gaming Rebel Dual Fan 3060. I got 65.7 frames per. Oh, but that's with ray tracing on, huh? Yeah, I didn't do ray tracing.
That'll be why then. But also, like some of these
Yeah.
games do have like upscaling, like DLSS and FSR. But I'm
Yeah,
guessing they've done it
I
without.
do use the DLSS, but yeah, that's with ray tracing. I don't really test with ray tracing because I figured you buy the card you want, and if you want to ray trace with it, then you're just gonna get a decrease in performance from whatever that is, you know. Ray tracing to me is not the. Are you a big fan of ray tracing?
It really varies. Some games I like to use it, and some I don't. I was playing Hell. Do you remember Hellblade? Senua's Sacrifice. Do you ever see that game before?
No.
Uh, sorry. Speaking of that,
We game.
I just noticed at 8:30, my cat is banging on the door, being like, "Yo, where's my treats?" But he's
Yeah,
gonna have
it's
to
that
wait.
time.
So yeah, Hellblade is a game that only very recently introduced. Well, I say recently, within the last year, introduced a ray tracing update along with DLSS, and this game absolutely tanks with ray tracing enabled, and at least with like DLSS balanced or maybe like performance, you can barely stick around like 40 FPS, and I'm doing that with an RTX 3080 at 4K. It is a very demanding title when it comes to RT performance. In that game, it looks absolutely beautiful with just pure raster. So I just turn it off because I don't think it needs it that much. So, but then another game that I really like the ray tracing implementation on is Resident Evil, and it complements that game so well with the actual lighting and shadow like effects within that game. I don't mind it, and the performance with the RE engine is already spectacular in the first place. And I can't recall the benchmarks off the top of my head, but I tested the game because they only just recently introduced ray tracing in that about 2-3 months ago, and it was easily hitting like around 100 frames with like at least like DLSS quality, or like it may have been balanced with ray tracing set to like max. So it varies. It depends what the titles are, but like I don't
I
know.
think Cyberpunk has pretty good ray tracing qualities. On Call of Duty, at least Modern Warfare, the original one. I remember I was excited to. That's when like the Nvidia 30 series barely came out. I was excited to try it out. I turned on ray tracing. I didn't see a difference whatsoever in the game. I was like, all right, well, this is pretty sad. I was like, this game keeps talking about it and it looks the same. I'm like, so I'm not gonna take a hit on performance for something that I can't tell the difference on. So like you
Yeah,
said, I guess it just depends.
it's not a feature that I get that excited about. What I do get excited about with games is when they've got either DLSS or FSR. That is more appealing to me. FSR more than anything I've noticed, especially when it comes to the Steam Deck, so I can use that to kind of offset some performance. And funny enough, that was something I didn't really want to make it a topic because it's not really worthwhile. But there was an update for Red Dead Redemption 2 today, where they've actually added FSR 1.0 support, which is pretty
Oh,
cool.
nice.
So especially for like Steam Deck, that's gonna be quite handy. But I still haven't got that game to run for more than 30 minutes at a time, so that's a whole
I
different
haven't tried it.
issue to deal with. It has DLSS, but obviously on a Steam Deck, that's not something you can
Pointless.
use.
Yeah.
But FSR support on that is good. Um, but yeah, I get more excited about the upscaling, like games that offer upscaling than anything else. And I noticed it. I've actually been playing. Speaking of the Steam Deck, I've recently been trying to get back into Days Gone, like the PC port from PlayStation, and I've been playing that on the Steam Deck pretty much exclusively for the past 2-3 days. And it's a game that performs pretty well on PC already, but I really wish it had like some sort of upscaling like settings for the Steam Deck. Even though the fact that it does actually manage to maintain a pretty solid 40 FPS at medium settings, 1280 by 800. But it'd be nice if we could up the quality settings a little bit more, and then get FSR quality on there at least. But it has no upscaling settings on it whatsoever, no DLSS or FSR, which is a bit strange because most of PlayStation's ports do have it. So it's a bit of an outlier, really.
So
Um,
developers of the game, if you're watching this, get to it, man.
You would think, but like they've been
Yeah.
pretty good to support the game as a whole on PC since it came over. But it's
Are we
just
trash
not.
talking them or not? Come on, PC Jack, you're going back and forth.
But the game already performs really well with just like the like native like quality. So I can't really bash it for not working on like a 15-watt APU. To be fair,
Well, we can.
we can. Either way, I mean, I'm really enjoying it. I kind of got halfway through and forgot I had it, and now I'm trying to get back into it. But that's a really good one on the Steam Deck, to be fair, especially because it's. I quite like just driving the motorbike around and killing zombies. It's just a good laugh, you know. It's pretty nice.
Yeah, that sounds pretty cool.
But yeah, going back to like closing things out from in this Intel Arc story, as things always seem to be developing. I don't know about you, Jerry, but like I said, we're quite happy to feature like any sort of like stories that come up from Intel regarding Arc graphics. But like, we just need to see it now. I don't know if I can like bear to like do another discussion. We're like, yes, cool. Be nice if you could get it.
It has the cure for cancer, I heard.
So should we like should we make a mutual agreement right now on air to say the next time we cover Intel Arc will either be when it's like officially dead in the water and not gonna happen, or when it's gonna release. Should we agree to that on stream right now?
Nope.
No?
Nope. I'll gladly talk about it. So that way when it finally does release, we can see all the features that were promised. Either
Okay.
come with it or failed. Either they come with it, it fails completely, or it's not on there at all.
That's fine then. I want to make sure like we're all on the same page that we're gonna want to cover the Intel Arc, even if they're like still like trying to like
I guess
tease us a
ask
bit.
the chat. Ask the chat. Do you guys want us to talk about Intel anymore? Let us know.
Let us know in the chat. I'll put up a poll anyway, but what I'll do, I'll put up the poll, and how about you close us out, Jerry, with this final topic, which is a bit of a joke one, but still one you sent me that I thought would be quite interesting to actually take a look at. And I'll pop that up on the stream. A very interesting topic when it comes to I don't know how to describe it. You can take the lead on this, Jerry, but
Okay, so we're gonna find out a new term today, and we're gonna also test to see if spam bot's gonna pop up today.
yes.
So, if anyone knows the term fictosexuality, you might have to look in the mirror and ask, what are you doing with yourself? Because I've apparently barely found this out right now. It says, fictosexuality is a term used to describe people who are sexually attracted to fictional characters. And in Japan, little by little, it becomes a trend, which is weird. Akihiko Kondo took his love for a fictional character one step further by holding a getting married ceremony with Hatsune Miku, a virtual singer who has starred in several video games and has even accompanied Lady Gaga on her world tours. Wow.
Oh, fair enough.
Let's see. The ceremony took place in 2019. The man was able to communicate with the hologram via Gatebox, a company that develops devices to holographically show characters that do not exist. As you can see in the picture, he has a little hologram of it. I'm assuming that's the Gatebox.
Oh, I can see it on there now.
Yeah, at the time, Akihiko and Hatsune monopolized the headlines of the newspapers and the media, and now they're at it again because the support for the Gatebox software that allowed the interaction is no longer available, and for the same reason, he can no longer communicate with her. Kondo says that his relationship with the hologram helped him overcome a deep depression. Okay, no one cares about that. Anyways, his love has not changed for the hologram. I held a wedding ceremony because I thought I could be with her forever. You thought wrong. Wherever he wants her to go, he is accompanied by a life-sized model of Hatsune Miku, and he hopes to be able to communicate with her in some way in the near future. First of all, why didn't he name her Leia or Ghana? You know,
that'd be a pretty good name for the hologram.
Yeah. And second of all, did they consummate this marriage or?
Do you want the spam bot to come again?
He uploaded a small file. So apparently he's such a loser in real life. Now he's such a loser in virtual reality. He can't even get married in the fake life. So
I just picture him like talking to his. I can picture talking to his like, "Oh, I love you." It's like error 404.
Yeah,
like, what? She just got friend zoned
Right.
by the internet.
Yeah, you can't even talk to girls in real life. Now you can't talk to girls in virtual life. Um,
Oh, that's
but
a bit. I feel sorry for the guy, but then I kind of feel like I think you have more pressing issues to be contending with if
yeah,
you're.
this might have been a blessing in disguise, you know? Maybe you can go out there and talk to a real person. And did the AI, or not even the AI, but did the hologram consent to this marriage? Did she agree to it? You know?
That's the question as well.
Yeah. Or is this like a forced is this like a House of Dragons thing, you know?
That's a whole different kettle of fish there, I think, to be honest. But it's gonna like this thing may become a lot more prominent as we get into this whole metaverse like headache that it is.
Yeah.
Well, just more people trying to legitimize very unusual ways of life, I suppose. And I don't want to bash people, like for what they're into, but like,
Peace of Us Vlog said this is the next Pixar movie.
it's like they're just gonna do the intro for Up, but like
The next Pixar movie or the next Tarantino movie?
Tarantino should do a Pixar film. That would
Oh
be
yeah,
crazy.
yeah, that'd be insane. Like about a germ fighting the immune system.
That'd be pretty
That way he
crazy.
can, that way he can get violent, but you know it'd be okay because it's an antibody.
That'd be pretty crazy. But it's kind of funny. Black Mirror ahead of its time. That's
Yeah.
pretty apt. Uh, so it's a bit of a change of topic, but we're kind of like closing things out. But like, there's a thing I don't know if you would have seen it for yourself, Jerry, but there's a whole thing kicking off in the UK with the like cost of living. Like in the US, I am expecting like energy prices are pretty high at the moment, as well as fuel, obviously. But there was a thing on a British why are you looking at the mining rig? You saying like that's using too much power? No.
Yeah. That's on, my light's on, my PC's on, my two monitors are on, this phone is on. So, yeah.
Great time for energy bills. But anyway, this there's a morning chat show in the UK, and they basically did some sort of call-in thing where they had a spin the wheel and you win a prize, and one of the prizes was that they'll pay 4 months of your energy bills,
Oh yeah.
which
I'll
is
take
kind
that.
of it's cool, but it's kind of like the way it came across was like a bit patronizing in a sort of way. It was
Yeah.
kind of like it's like as Piece of Us said on there, like he's thinking of Black Mirror. That's literally what everyone's saying. It's like it's literally the most dystopian thing people have seen. Where they're like, it's like, oh, spin the wheel and we'll see if we can keep you alive this winter. It'll be great. It's like,
Yeah.
okay.
I'll take it. Shit. They can pay my electric bill.
But they had to
Imagine,
specify. They had to specify. They were like, oh, we're paying for 4 months and not a day more.
yeah. Well, imagine a person with a mining farm, like a whole building set up with rigs. He's like, jackpot.
That'd be great.
Yeah. So be careful what you wish for.
Did you ever see that report about there was a? I think this was actually in the UK as well. But basically, the police busted a house because they thought they were growing cannabis, but they weren't mining. They weren't farming cannabis. They were actually mining on GPUs instead.
Ethereum, yeah.
But they only found out because they like did some hacky thing with like stealing power to pay for the cost of running the
They stole
systems.
it.
But they thought they were
Stole the
They thought they were growing, not mining.
Yeah, that's hilarious. Imagine busting in thinking you're gonna find a bunch of drug dealers and you just see some nerds with computers. You're like, what?
So what are you doing here?
Yeah. Well, I guess since we're talking about mining and crypto, for anyone that cares, Ethereum is pretty close to the end.
It's near proof of
Speculation was
stake. Proof of stake, proof of
Yeah.
state. I always mix it
Yeah,
up.
proof of stake,
That's it.
STAKE, is going to proof of work. So they said September 10th to September 20th. Ethereum, as you know it, mining with GPUs is going to end. They're now saying September 15th to September 20th. It will end. And I'm going to write it to the end, you guys. I want to see what happens. So,
Ride till I die. That's what
yeah,
it is.
right till we die. And then I might go to Ergo or I might go to Ethereum Classic. Those are my two choices.
You should just go to
We'll find out.
Doge just to meme it. Like,
Doge. I did buy Doge and made money off of it. And then one more thing on that hologram too. That'd be pretty sick to have in like your liquid cooling tube. You know the reservoir you have for your water.
Oh, you just reminded me of someone now. There was a guy who I don't know the name of the streamer, but basically he live streamed and then went to sleep and forgot he was live streaming, and he got caught like leaving bed like completely naked like on stream
Oh
to
man.
turn off the stream
Yeah.
or something like that.
That,
And then someone made a they had a I don't know what AIO it was, but it had one of the LCD screens on it, and they put the
oh, they
LCD
put a GIF.
they put a GIF of the guy like getting out of bed with his arse out, basically.
Oh, that's terrible. Did you see the one where the guy he's showing his kill streak on Call of Duty, and it shows like everyone in the lobby their kill streaks and that, and then the screen turned off real quick to go to the loading screen or whatever, and it was pitch black, and it showed his reflection, and he was in his underwear.
Oh, fair enough then.
And he was streaming, yeah, he was streaming the game. So yeah, be careful what you wear when you're streaming, or when you're in front of a camera, I guess is the.
I'll have to remember to end the stream while I'm wearing slippers, so it's not that bad. But
Yeah.
if anyone wanted to know my footwear, now they know. But yeah, so it's interesting nonetheless. But yeah, that's about it for the stream, I think. So let's close things out. So we're expecting a video on Friday, Jerry. That's correct, is it?
Yes, sir.
Nice.
I hope so.
Hope so. That's alright though. Also, the end of that poll is pretty torn between yes, keep talking about Intel GPUs, and no, wait until they release, bro.
So
we'll
I'll
see
talk
now.
about it and you won't.
Yeah, I'll remain silent. I'll just mute the mic. I'll just be like,
That's good. Yeah.
it works like that. But
The
yeah,
A360s keep going in stock here in the US of A on Newegg, which I'm assuming is kind of like your scan. We don't
yeah,
have
near
scan
enough.
here.
Yeah. Well, I'd be interested to see what it's looking like from there, especially if you do go around to testing them. But see.
And the only thing is Newegg. Nah, I don't know. I don't want to get an Intel card and then I get stuck with it. You know.
Yeah, that's the struggle.
Yeah.
But yeah. So besides that, are you streaming later on, Jerry? Do you want to plug a stream?
Yeah. I'll be playing Call of Duty. I need to rank up my character. I'll be playing with the Piece of Us vlogs,
Nice.
and I'll be playing with Two Swift Ninja / Twanner. Sometimes they pop up on here.
Nice.
Yeah, we'll be playing Call of Duty Vanguard. Got to rank up my battle pass. Got to make my money back on this battle pass before the new Modern Warfare 2 comes out. So that
Cool.
way I can have money for that battle pass. So, yeah,
Nice.
we'll be doing that. Getting sweaty with the boys, I guess.
Again, them gains,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. PC
But-
Jack will one day play with us.
One day, I need to get into COD again. It's been a very long time. But let's give it a shot, and maybe I can get my kill streak up. Just my current kill death ratio is very low because it's non-existent.
Yeah, the way
but-
the way you played Ninja Turtles, I don't know how good you'd be on Call of Duty.
I don't know. If I'm playing Fallout, I'm pretty good. But when it comes to COD, might be a bit of a different story. But
What
yeah.
about you? What can we expect from your channel, PC Jack?
Well, we've got the stream capture build going up on Thursday, and then on Sunday we'll have this week's news roundup, and that's about it. Then until the next episode of Tech Flashback, which, if I'm not mistaken, I did have to double check our schedule because wedding stuff getting in the way. We may have to do it a different day next week, but we'll make sure to let you guys know what the actual deal is with that, and we'll take it from there. And yeah, she's back. Are we talking about a spam bot?
No.
No? Oh.
Come on. These of us vlogs want to know about a topic, but on Twitch.
Oh, fair
'cause
enough.
we're- So I just went ahead and mentioned it in the chat, answered his topic. I don't know if you want to talk about it.
Fair. I kind of got to close things out. I'd be happy to add it to the next stream, though. We can take a look if there's been any developments on it, though. But I'm not quite sure what it is referring to. So if I can do some research first, I'll know what's going on. But yeah, we'll leave it at that. So yeah, if you enjoyed the stream, then please feel free to like and subscribe to both myself and to Jerry on his channel Top 3 Entertainment, who is now celebrating 500 subs. Well deserved.
Let's go.
To show more the love. And yeah, like I said, we'll be back sometime next week. Not sure what day. It might be a different day, but we'll figure it out and let you guys know. But yeah, we'll roll that intro that we forgot to do at the beginning, and we'll see you next time. So let's peace out with that. The intro is going. It's coming out, so like I'm compensating a little for not showing it, and it's there.
Yeah.